Yo, what is up guys, Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So essentially this video is a run through of the March boxing schedule. I'll basically be going through the cards that I'm interested in and the fights I'm interested in, and I'll be giving you my thoughts on each of those events. But yeah, March, certainly a decent month for boxing, some good fights, and yeah, we should get some good action this month. But anyway, we shall start on the 4th of March. Actually a card in Puerto Rico, headlined by Boachuk versus Brandon Adams. Now this is quite an interesting fight. Boachuk is a prospect based out of Ukraine, 18-0 in the super welterweight division, and all 18 of those fights come by way of knockout. Now Brandon Adams certainly represents a step up for Boachuk. Brandon Adams, defensively responsible, nice and compact. He actually went the distance with Jamal Charlo in a world title fight, so he can certainly look after himself. He's got good experience, and I do expect him to take Boachuk some rounds. So it's going to be interesting to see how Boachuk looks in this fight, see where his power really is, because Brandon Adams is relatively durable, he can look after himself. It's a good step up, in my opinion, for Boachuk. And on the undercard, nothing really to write home about. But also on the 5th of March, we have Tony Yoka versus Joel Dweko. This fight is for the European Union heavyweight title. That basically is the title below the European title. But yeah, Tony Yoka, good prospect, Olympic gold medalist, good athlete, nice hand speed, decent power, very good prospect in my opinion. He should win this fight comfortably. Dweko's not really a heavyweight, and he's not all that great, quite frankly. He used to be a cruiserweight. I've actually seen this guy fight at cruiserweight. I think he fought Craig Kennedy in the UK, and he lost that fight, so Dweko's not really a high-level heavyweight. Basically a stay-busy fight for Tony Yoka, but it's good now he's staying active, I will say that much. But yeah, it's worth keeping an eye out for. You know, Tony Yoka, one of the better prospects in the division, so worth keeping an eye out for, but not really a great fight, quite frankly. Now let's move on. Okay. If you're interested, by the way, on the 10th of March in the US on Showtime in Connecticut, you've got Brandon Lee, who's a good prospect at super lightweight. He is fighting Samuel Tier. Again, not really a great opponent, but I think Brandon Lee is quite a good prospect, so he's worth keeping an eye out for. And also on Friday in the UK, ESPN Plus in the US, IFL TV in the UK, Gary Cully taking a bit of a step up against Viktor Koyachov. Decent little fight, I guess, good step up, but I'd imagine Gary Cully wins that fight, to be honest. You've also got Lewis Crocker, a welterweight prospect, in a step up against Dennis Ilbay. Again, another solid step up for Lewis Crocker. So yeah, two good prospects based out of Hyland, taking slight step up, so that's always good to see. Let me move on. By the way, 13th of March in Australia. Now, in my opinion, this fight should not really be happening. Michael Zerafa, versus Anthony Mundine. Zerafa's a good fringe level contender. He can punch a bit. Anthony Mundine used to be a good fighter, but he's like 45, 46 years old now. He's lost 4 of his last 5 fights. He's been stopped brutally several times. The guy should not really be fighting at this stage. I fully expect Zerafa to knock this guy out very quickly, but it's worth mentioning, I guess. And let's move on. Yes, on the 13th of March in the US on Showtime, again, Connecticut, USA, we've got David Benavidez making his return to the ring against Ronald Ellis. A bit of a disappointing fight, quite frankly. This fight doesn't do anything for Benavidez. I fully expect him to win this fight comfortably. Mid-round stoppage, just too big, too strong, throws too many punches, but not really a great fight. I rate Benavidez quite highly. I think he's a good fighter, but he needs to be fighting better guys than this. And on the undercard, you've got Quadratilo Abdukakarov against Javier Flores. Abdukakarov, decent welterweight, nothing special, but again, worth keeping your eye out on. Okay, let's move on. Okay, now this is the card of the month in my opinion, and this is the best fight of the month. Juan Francisco Estrada versus Roman Gonzalez. This fight actually is a unification fight at super flyweight. Both the WBC and WBA titles will be on the line. Obviously, this also is a rematch. First time around, they fought in 2012, I believe, if memory serves me correct. First time around was a great fight, a close fight, could have gone either way, and this time around, I fully expect fireworks again. High quality fight, pound for pound level talents. I'm actually leaning towards Estrada in this fight. I have done a prediction video, so if you want to see that, check it out on my channel. But yeah, that's a great main event. And on the undercard, Hiroto Kayaguchi, I'll get it out in the end. He's making his Matchroom debut, and he's fighting Axel Vega. He's defending his WBA super light flyweight title. And on the undercard, you've got a whole host of prospects: Austin Williams, Ofer Jones, Raymond Ford, Solomon Sissoko, and obviously also the heavyweight prospect James Wilson, who I don't really rate. And if you're into female boxing, you've got Jessica McCaskill versus Cecilia Breakhouse 2 on that card. But all in all, this is a really good card. Love the main event. I'm interested in seeing Kayaguchi fighting away from home. That's interesting, and some good prospects on the undercard. So that card right here, certainly worth looking out for. But let's move on. Interestingly enough, on the 16th of March, you have Oscar Rivas making his return to the ring against Silveira Lewis. Again, that's not really a good fight, just a comeback fight. Now this is interesting. On the 18th of March, another card in Puerto Rico, you've got Alberto Mercado versus Hector Tanajara. Tanajara, a lightweight prospect, good little step up for him. Machado, actually a former champion at super featherweight, so a good step up by Hector Tanajara. I expect him to win this fight. I've not really been impressed with Machado for a long time, but still nevertheless a good step up. Actually, you've also got Angel Acosta on that card, who's a good fighter, but he's just having a stay busy fight. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. On the 19th of March, another UK card. This actually, again, is a MTK card. So ESPN Plus in the US and IFL TV in the UK. Really good free card right here. Maxi Hughes versus Paul Hyland Jr. for the vacant British lightweight title. That's going to be a competitive fight. Could be pretty fun. I'd probably lean towards Maxi Hughes, but it's a competitive fight. And also you've got Lee McGregor fighting for the European bantamweight title against Karim Gurfi. Good fight. Gurfi, a good European level fighter. Good step up by Lee McGregor, trying to win the European title at bantamweight in his 10th fight. So yeah, credit to him for taking this fight so early. I think Lee McGregor needs a good performance after his fight with Ukashir Farouk, where he kind of got a lucky decision. You know, if he could win the European title in good fashion, that's a great way to respond. But yeah, this actually is quite a good little card for a free card on a Friday night. So I'll definitely be watching that. But let's move on. Anything else? No. Okay. So yeah, good card in the UK, headlined by Laurence Akoulay versus Christophe Glowacki. This is for the vacant cruiserweight title for WBO version. Good little fight, good step up for Laurence Akoulay. Glowacki certainly the best guy he's ever fought. Glowacki, of course, a former world champion in his own right. Fought some good competition, had some great performances. It's a test for Laurence Akoulay, but I expect Laurence Akoulay to win this fight. I think Glowacki has seen better days. Still a good fighter, still dangerous, but I believe he's seen better days. And Akoulay is the younger, fresher, bigger man. I think he'll win this fight. Not sure whether by points or by knockout, but I do believe Akoulay wins this fight. Might be ugly, but we'll see what goes on there. This fight right here on the undercard between Chris Bellum Smith and Dion Duma that's been called off. That's no longer happening. Dion Duma pulled out, so I'm assuming Bellum Smith's going to get new opponents. You've got Joe Cordina back in action against an opponent not really to write home about, and you've got another female fight. I'm not really interested in that. And yeah, you got the debut of the heavyweight prospect Solomon Dacares, who signed with Matchroom. But let's move on. Anything else? Oh yeah, good card in Spain actually on the 26th of March. Actually a pretty good card here. Sandor Martin versus K Prosper for the European Super Lightweight title. Actually, K Prosper comes from my neck of the woods in Luton, so I'll be rooting for him, but I can't see him winning this fight, to be honest with you. Sandor Martin is a good European level fighter. I fully expect him to win this fight, and he probably wins by knockout as well. You've also got Gavin Mcdonnell fighting for the European featherweight title against Andoni Gargo. What's that about? Who's a pretty good fighter. Tough challenge. I actually think Gavin Mcdonnell wins this fight. But nevertheless, a good little fight right there. And you've actually got Sergio Garcia and Kerman Lejaraga scheduled to fight on this card. We'll see what happens with their opponents. But yeah, good little double header there for European titles involving British fighters. And also on the 26th of March, a BT card, you've got Akeem Ennis Brown versus Sam Maxwell. Good fight for the Commonwealth and British super lightweight titles. That's a really good fight. Not really sure how to call that one. I think that's 50-50. Sam Maxwell, bigger puncher and a better amateur background, but Akeem Ennis Brown is very awkward, and in 14 fights he's fought some really good competition as well. You've also got Brad Foster, who's a good fighter at super bantamweight. He is fighting Alvaro Rodriguez. And again, you've got a couple of good prospects on the undercard. Dennis McCann being one, and also David Adelay in the heavyweight division. So that's a pretty good card by Frank Warren. Let's move on. Where are we at? Okay. Okie dokie. Interesting card in Russia, just for this main event. Evgeny Tishchenko, who's a good cruiserweight prospect, fighting Tabiso Machunu. That's a really good step up by Tishchenko, former gold medalist in the Olympics, although that gold medal was very fortunate. But nevertheless, Tishchenko, one of the best prospects in the cruiserweight division, and he's taking a big step up against former world title challenger Fabricio Machunu. And good little fight that, good little fight. And on the 27th of March, another Frank Warren card, you've got Willie Hutchinson versus Lennox Clark. That is for the vacant British and Commonwealth super middleweight titles. Good fight. Chris Jenkins versus Echo Esserman for the Commonwealth and British welterweight titles. Another really competitive fight. Looking forward to that. And you've got Louis Lin on the card, who's a good prospect. Nathan Gorman coming back as well. He's having another fight. So that card right there are certain things to look out for. Okie dokie. Is there anything else that we've missed? I think we've missed something, you know. Yeah, 27th of March, Alexander Povetkin versus Dillian Whyte in Gibraltar. Again, great rematch. First time around, Povetkin pulled off the upset. He knocked out Dillian Whyte. Will lightning strike twice, or will Dillian Whyte get his revenge? We shall see. But that's a really good main event. The undercard, I believe it's going to be Ted Cheeseman versus James Metcalf for one. Eric Molina versus Fabio Wardley. There's a few fights on the undercard. I think Richard Riakporhe is going to be on the undercard as well. So yeah, good main event. Looking forward to it. One of the better fights of the month, no doubt. One of the more interesting fights coming up in the next 4 weeks or so. But yeah, March, I mean, all in all, it's not really a terrible month, in my opinion. Not really a terrible month at all. But yeah, share your thoughts below. What do you make of the schedule? What are you looking forward to most? I'll be intrigued to know.